Hello, my name is Fear Dragon, and I just ran the Breakout Invitational number 4. So this is a video that's kind of a retrospective, a looking back at Season 4 of Breaking Out, something I did for Season 1. I think I did it for Season 3. I just skipped Season 2. I don't know why I skipped Season 2, but here it is for Season 4. I think this is an important one to do just because I briefly talked about it at the end of the Invitational, but there's going to be a lot of changes that are going to be coming in Season 5, which, yeah, official announcement, I'm doing Season 5, or at least I'm planning to, as long as I don't somehow die in the next 8 months. Fingers crossed. So yeah, just talking about the Invitational, because I think that's what people probably will care about the most. Saddens my heart that people care more about the Invitational than the show, because to me, Breaking Out at the heart of it is the show. But I understand that the Invitational is the actual interesting part for most people. That's just something I have to work on. But yeah, looking back, just statistics wise, throwing out some numbers, I guess, to get started. So I don't have the full set of numbers, and I won't for probably another like 10 hours, but I just kind of want to get this video done while it's all still fresh in my memory. And this is just because Twitch doesn't release all of the statistics until 24 hours after the broadcast, and I'm not going to have those statistics for a little while longer. So keep that in mind. It's only for day 3 that those statistics aren't fully out there, but I have my estimates that I'll mention. So anyways, day 1, I had a 1,300 maximum concurrent viewers. I had about 550 average concurrent across the entire broadcast. I had 27,000 uniques. And I want to note, kind of asterisk by the uniques for day 1 and day 2. Not so much for day 3, but for day 1 and day 2, I had Twitch front page feature. And for those who don't know, Twitch front page, that just means that, when you go to twitch.tv, they show the 6 streams over there. And I actually requested if I could have the Breakout Invitational front page for at least some portion of the time. It wasn't for the entire tournament. I think on day 1, it was for maybe an hour. It was maybe for an hour or two. Day 2 was probably for an hour, like an hour or two as well. And day 3, I don't know when it was ever really featured. I don't think it was on the final day. But I have some statistics showing me in my dashboard that it was at some point, but I didn't really get much viewership from there. So anyways, I can kind of filter out how much viewership I got from front page approximately. So about 16,000 of the 27,000 were from the front page. So I kind of consider like day 1, 11K uniques. 11K uniques organically / through other means of people hosting and blah blah blah, and people coming in from Team Luca, etc. 34,000 maximum concurrent viewers for day 2. Asterisk by that, because this is where I think the front page feature comes in the most. Is you'll see what I mean when I talk about how many uniques there were for today or that day. 14,000 average concurrent, which I think was pretty awesome. I was pretty happy about that. And 69,000 uniques. Oh, that's 70K uniques. That's kind of a lot of uniques for a broadcast of my scale. But 46,000 of those are from the front page. So without trying to do math on stream, that leaves about 20,000-ish, which just came from 25,000-ish that just came from other places, which I think is still kind of impressive. 25,000 people came from not the front page. And the reason why I keep saying front page, like, oh, ignore it, is because there's a lot of people, like, especially for uniques and stuff, that will load up the front page and then they'll just say, like, I'm gonna go find a stream to watch. And for some reason, they go to twitch.tv before they go do that. They don't have, like, following bookmarked or something like that. I guess it's just people that use Twitch differently than I do. So I kind of ignore them because they'll like load up the stream and immediately leave within like 4 or 5 seconds. But still, I'm pretty happy with that number of 25K-ish uniques aside from the front page. And I guess maybe I'm sure some of the front page people stuck around to watch. But day 3, the finals day, I had a estimated maximum concurrent of around 1,500. This is the statistics I don't really have right now, the concurrence for the final day, but I saw it somewhere around 1,500. I think the average it was ended up being around 1,000 around the semifinals and finals. The show matches I think ended up being probably around like 500 average concurrence, and uniques ended up being for the finals 8,000 uniques, and it says that I got 1,000 front page uniques. So I guess lower down to 7,000. I don't really know, or I didn't really get anyone telling me that I was featured on the front page for the final day, but hey, if they tell me that I was, then I was. So those are the statistics. I'll probably post them in the Team Liquid thread if you want to read those. Probably much more succinctly than I just described them, but that's kind of a little bit of my thoughts behind them. I was relatively surprised and happy with how things went. Last season, comparatively, I think it's worth noting that the finals had much lower viewership than last season, season 3. But it's important to note that having day 9 on for your finals does just bring up viewership. Even though 3,400 is my new max concurrent record for the Invitational, which was previously somewhere around 2,300 or 2,400. That was the 2,300, 2,400 with day 9. So there's just so many people that day 9 will bring in. Whereas as much as I enjoy casting with Zombie Grub and stuff, obviously Zombie Grub not quite going to bring in the same audience as day 9. Which is totally fine. And I'm very content with it. I'm happy with it. And I think for how the Invitational has gone, I'm pretty happy with the numbers. Let's move on to, I guess, the players in the game. So the players in the games, I'm super happy with the players and everything. I think that the group stages were a lot of fun. The games for the semifinals and the finals, they weren't, the score for one of the semifinals was 3-1. The score for the other one was 3-0. And then the finals were 4-0. So it was all, in a way, fairly one-sided series. I think we had some very back and forth games. The Trace versus Moose Skills game number 1, where Trace goes for the 7 gate, and Moose Skills is, hanging on by the thinnest of type ropes. You could floss your teeth with the type rope he was holding on with, but it was a really close game, and we had some of those. We had a decent number of those, but still, the overall, I feel like everything was not super duper close. There wasn't quite as much excitement with the games as I've had in some of the previous seasons. One of the most standout things was season 2, where I had Reborn versus Siphon, who were both good friends and everything. And Reborn gets a 3 or a 2-0 lead in a best of 5, and then Siphon just comes back from the brink of death in crazy, game 3, especially the game that he starts to turn around in. It's an absurd swarm host game on, I think it was Frost, and he's up against a 4 or 5 base Zerg, and he's on 8 base, playing this super, come in from every angle, harass at every angle side. So that we didn't really have a lot of those games. We did have some pretty awesome games. I think we did have one really, really cool base trade. I can't actually remember off the top of my head what the base trade was. But anyways, so the games were the games were good. I enjoyed them. We learned a lot about the players, how BioIce is really good at 2-base meta in ZVZ, and he will continue to 2-base meta in ZVZ because he feels it's the best way to play, and who can really argue with him given his performance in 4-0 in the finals, versus Moose Skills, who I think actually a lot of people was expecting to win. BioIce was the underdog, at least gauging by other people I talked to and the chat. But, BioIce definitely, I think it's cool because BioIce can kind of say, I deserve to win this. There's no, I 3-1 EJK in the semifinals. I 4-0'd Moose Skills in the finals. I deserve this. So that's really cool. Moving on to production and stuff. So there were a couple new things that we tried this season. It was 2 things specifically. It was the player cams in-game, which I'm really, really proud. I'm so happy with how that turned out. I could be happier because I feel like a lot of the players are still not super emotional. They don't show a lot of reactions after the games or, during the games and stuff a lot of the time. But there were a couple of moments that made it worth it. Moose Skills doing the sunglasses and kind of the ceremony. That definitely made it worth it. A couple other small things. I hate to point it out, but it was mostly when players were losing. That was when they, showed some kind of emotion. Nobody really cared when they won, apparently. But one of the things that stood out to me was like Peely Peely losing. It was like, he like sticks out his tongue. It's like, oh god. Couple of those moments made it kind of worth it to me. And I think that overall it just went pretty well. It was a huge production thing. It's probably the thing I was the number one most afraid of not working out and just horrendously crashing and burning. For those who were wondering, it was not just Skype, because obviously the players couldn't hear us, but they had to hear us for the interviews. But then the casters had to be able to hear each other, and also the observer had to hear the caster. It was like this crazy, crazy setup using Skype and Zoom.us, which is an amazing program that DJ Wheat actually recommended to me a long while ago. Not to like name drop or anything. Straight up just like I talked to DJ Wheat at PAX, because anyone can go do that. So he's super awesome, and he spent a lot of time with me, and that was one of the things he actually recommended to me. And I'm so glad I got to use it effectively for this. So the player cams are super awesome. The map intros made by Nice Username, I am just super happy with them. The only thing I was a little bit sad about is I think when we were playing them, our observer, Current TV, who's running all the production, by the way, a huge shout out to Current TV for doing that and making my life a hell of a lot easier. God, my casting was already bad. I can't imagine how much worse it would have been if I was also doing all the production. Oh, that's a horrendous thought. But the map intros, I think that they were stuttering a little bit on the stream, but they came in beautifully, like 60 frames per second, no stuttering whatsoever when Next Username sent them in. So I think he also posted a Reddit thread, so if you guys want to give feedback on those specifically, you can just tell a Nice Username. He did a phenomenal job with it, and I'm really, really happy with it. Pre-game, post-game interviews were interesting. It's something that I've been doing since season 1. And there have been a couple times that have just made it worth it. I'm glad that I've done them in the past. I think this season was probably the pregame and postgame interviews had the least amount of value. I don't know. I'm still I need to go over and rewatch the entire Invitational because that's something I do because I'm insane. But I need to go back and rewatch it, and especially go over those interviews, because I'm not sure how much it was the players just not really giving good responses, or not giving super interesting responses, versus me just not asking the right questions. I tried to keep them a lot shorter than I have in previous seasons, because I know a lot of the time you'd get the good, or a couple of times you'd get the good responses, but then a majority of the time it'd just be me trying to drag out responses that were interesting during the pregame or winners interviews. And I'd realize, it was just better to kind of cut it short and just have, 1 to 2 questions asked, and just hop into the game. And it's kind of cool because you get to see the player, you get to see them talking and saying something, so at least you have some idea of kind of the person they are, or the way that the mannerisms, etc. But yeah, it just wasn't super duper effective. Also, I think that I might have gotten a Skype call during this. Don't worry, that wasn't you. I apologize if that was the case. But yeah, I'm not entirely sure. Feel free to leave me your comments or something. Feedback if you feel like I just completely botched pregame winners interviews. If you feel like it was just super boring and it didn't add anything because my questions were shit. Anyways, I guess moving on to guest casters. So guest casters I'm happy with all of them. Greetorp is amazing. He is so much fun. He is actually super duper professional. I messaged him and I was like, hey, would you be able to cast this? I had someone else that actually, no hard feelings with how it kind of ended up working out, but there was some confusions about the time zones and stuff of when they'd actually be casting and stuff. So they had to cancel kind of last second, around a week before the Invitational. And I sent a message out to Greetorp, because I saw that he was like, hey, he's casting again. He's casting WCS with Nathanius and stuff. And he is one of those people that is really, really cool, because I have all of this other stuff. I have all the breaking out stuff for the show and everything made. And Greetorp isn't one of the people that will just be like, okay, yeah, I'll show up and we'll figure it out from there. And, I'll talk to you then. he was one of the people who I messaged and I said like, hey, here's kind of like the very quick breakdown. And if you're interested or if you have time, here's a little bit more information. And he was like, oh, okay, cool. You have like these videos made and stuff. Could you send me the links to those? Yeah, I want to like know the players and stuff. And I was like, this is amazing. Like, he's being so involved, and it was a really, really amazingly awesome to work with him. And I learned a lot during that broadcast as well. Um, it it's really cool because I'd never ever interacted with Greetor besides I think like fanboying over him in like 2011 maybe at like MLG Anaheim. I think that he was at MLG Anaheim. Yeah. Um, Definitely like probably like interacted with him there, but besides that, never interacted with him, and it still felt like the cast was two guys running production and stuff, but hanging out and just watching StarCraft and talking about it, which I think is when a lot of StarCraft casts are the most fun. So I had a lot of fun during the broadcast, and I hope that other people felt similarly. I'm sure that there were some kind of rough patches in terms of, especially my casting. Greetorp was pretty solid, I think. But yeah, that was how Greetorp went. Jack Attack was day 2. For those who are wondering, because I have gotten some messages about it, In Control was, he was supposed to cast day 2, but he had a prior commitment. He promised Total Biscuit that he was going to cast Shoutcraft Clan Wars. And it was pretty understandable. I mean, it was just a little bit of confusion about exactly what day he was going to be casting. So, no hard feelings whatsoever. I was actually very, very happy to have Jack Attack on. And that was actually the day that we had the max concurrent of 3,400, the new record and everything. And pretty good viewership. And pretty consistent viewership, I would say, as well. So I was pretty happy with how that went, especially because Jack Attack and I have casted in the past before. But I think that we as a commentating duo made a lot of progress during that broadcast. I feel like we came a long way as casters, because we've casted in the past, but we've always had a little bit of trouble with certain aspects of our casting. Like, we kind of do what I would like to call like tennis lobbing, where one of us would talk for a while, and then it'd be like, oh, it's Fear Dragon's turn to talk. Oh, it's Jack Attack's turn to talk. Oh, it's Fear Dragon's turn to talk. And that is not really casting. That's like two people solo casting, but we're just alternating which stream of listening that we're tuning into, or something like that. But I feel like it went a lot better with Jack Attack, so I was super happy with that. Jack Attack's awesome. And it's cool to get to commentate with him because he's super awesome. Tempo, I got nothing to even say about casting with Tempo, because first of all, the Legacy of the Void show matches were actually the best games of the entire tournament. I'm just gonna put that out there because those are the most fun games ever. And casting with Tempo is like casting with a really, really good friend. It's not even casting with Tempo is like watching StarCraft with a super duper close friend, where we're not, it almost felt like we weren't doing a broadcast. It felt more like we were on a Skype call watching someone else's broadcast and just like talking with each other during the stream, like talking over the stream. I don't know if other people do that. I know I get to do it sometimes with people, but not as often as I'd like to. But I have, that's all I'll say about casting in Tempo. I will forever heart Tempo. He's amazing, and he is so much fun to cast with. Casting with Zombie Grub, I think that one. So Zombie Grub is an amazing commentator. I have an astounding amount of respect for her and everything. I think that I did not bring a lot to that cast, especially the early part of that cast. I was really, really disappointed with how that whole semifinals and finals went. I think that it was an okay cast, but I was saying things, and I'm sure people will be able to find the exact points in time where I say like something just stupid, just something that's, not even like up for debate. It's just like what I'm saying is stupid and wrong. And I was telling Zombie Grub, like, because we have the webcams and stuff still turned on during the game and everything. And I was telling Zombie Grub, I would like say something, and I would just like I would try and like look at the webcam and like face palm so she could see that I was like, what I knew that what I said was stupid. And then I regret saying it, and I don't know why I said it. It was one of those really weird moments. I don't know if it was just kind of being tired from like the casting the previous 2 days and all the preparation that goes in, plus like having casted already for like 3 or like 4 hours with Tempo, which normally, I'm usually not too bad about getting super duper tired. But I guess like when it goes up to like 8 hours, I'm not base trade TV. I can't deal with that kind of stuff after, 3 days in a row of that kind of preparation slash casting. So I feel like Zombie Grub's too nice to say it, but I feel like I was holding back that cast quite a bit. So I'm pretty disappointed with myself, especially since it was like the semifinals and finals. I think I kind of pulled myself together a little bit toward the later end of the broadcast. But yeah, a little bit rough over there. A little bit rough. Zombie Grub did a great job. I have no complaints about her side of the casting. It was a lot of me saying stupid things, repeating myself a lot, just the usual caster stuff that I just need to work on as a commentator. It's just straight up, there's nothing else about it. It's just, I know what I need to work on. I'm going to go work on it. If you want to help point out, just in case it's something I don't know that I need to work on, then feel free to leave some feedback about that. But yeah, I think that I don't want to drag this video on for too long. So I'll kind of get on to the next topic, which is, Breakout Invitational. I think it went well. It was an okay broadcast, but I had a really good conversation with the person who made the trailer and the map not the map intros, the player intros, and all this other kinds of stuff. Cybert, he's been doing a lot of commentary for Team Gravity Fight Night as well, and he is just a super duper awesome guy. He's like one of my favorite people to talk to about all things production, casting, esports stuff in a more casual sense. Like, he's probably the person I talk to the most about any of that kind of stuff. He's actually one of the best commentators in Command & Conquer for what it's worth, and he's awesome. So yeah, go check out @1cyber. But yeah, so I talked to him a lot about it, and I think I came to the conclusion that I think the broadcast, the entire tournament was good. It was a good broadcast. And that's why I got like decent viewership. I got like good viewership across the board. I had like good everything, but there was nothing very cool. There was nothing really special about it besides like maybe, oh, we have player cams for an online tournament. This is unheard of, which I was super proud about. Again, I'm super duper proud of that. But I think that the idea for Breaking Out is niche. I mean, me saying that is just like God, Fear Dragon, it only took you like a year and a half to figure that. No, I mean, I've known that the idea is niche, but it's something that I've sort of been vaguely aware of, but I'm starting to become more conscious of, is I can't have the idea of Breaking Out. Breaking Out won't ever be successful being a good broadcast. The Breakout Invitational can't be a good broadcast and reach the success that I want it to reach. It has to be a great broadcast because it's niche players. Half of the commentators will always be niche because I am half of the commentators at all times. And the players aren't going to bring in their audience. It's not like when Scarlet plays, she tweets out and says, hey, I'm playing, or, Huck's playing, and he tweets out the stream, and suddenly viewers just flood in because they want to go watch Scarlet. They want to go watch Huck, regardless of whoever's commentating or regardless of whatever is going on. And I don't have that big viewership drive because I'm a nobody. Sometimes it's like nice when I get like a Day 9 or an In Control or a Greetorp on, that kind of stuff. But yeah, there was nothing great about the broadcast from a casting perspective, from a hosting perspective, which was both of my jobs. And I think that's something that I need to work on. I think that's my biggest disappointment with the entire thing, is I felt like I brought an okay, sometimes slightly subpar casting / hosting aspect of it. And it's just something that I need to work on. I'm going to be like looking over the VODs repeatedly and going over it with anyone that's willing to go over it with me, and listening that's why I'm getting feedback right now and asking for feedback and trying to improve it. So season 5 won't suck so much from my end. Yay. But anyways, that's the summary of that. I want to move on to season 5 since I just mentioned it. And also that's the next thing on my little notepad list. So season 5, the big thing is I don't want to go too much into depth into it because I'm still sorting it out. Nothing is concrete right now, but I have some pretty good ideas of what I'm imagining season 5 looking like. So here are the changes. For anyone that's not familiar with Breaking Out, the format it's called a Breakout Invitational, but 6 of the 8 spots for the players they're all qualify. So that's going to stay the same. I really like that. The whole qualifying is important. How many slots there are is likely going to change. So we're probably, I guess I'll start it from the beginning. Yeah, so like qualifying, it's probably going to be somewhere between 5 to 7 slots qualifying. I'm not sure where. It's somewhere going to be between 5, 6, or 7. And the reason for that is we're going to be doing the Breakout Invitational before the show, which is going to be really different. It's going to be really, really strange to me. But one of the biggest pieces of criticism that I got in the Reddit thread when I asked for feedback on the show is everyone just said, why should I care about this person? You haven't given me, or I don't have any reason to care about this person that this show was highlighting. And I'm like, well, you know, they're up and coming to the scene. It's that the thing is, I think the Breakout Invitational should become that reason. That can become the reason of why you should care about them. They've made it through a qualifier. They played in a tournament. And then the show will only happen with the 4 semifinalists. We're not going to do it for all 8 players that are in the tournament and stuff. It's just going to be for the 4 semifinals. So that's kind of like the proven. This is why you should care about them. Because they made it to the semifinals and they showed, you know, that they're pretty good in this like prestige. That's prestigious is probably giving myself a little bit too much credit. But they made it to the semifinals in a tournament worth $1,000 to plus dollars, usually $2,000. So there's that. But secondly, I think that the biggest thing is we're going to be opening the floodgates. It's not going to be North American region locked anymore. That's something that I'm really, really heavily considering. And I'm like 90% sold on right now. A lot of people might be kind of upset by that. But my thought process behind that is it's kind of a long one, so I don't want to go too crazy into it. If you have any questions about it, maybe I can make a separate video about it. But the idea is I've highlighted 30 players over the course of 4 seasons because EJK and Jon Snow were on twice. So I've highlighted quite a few of the up-and-coming players in the North American scene. There are definitely still a lot out there that either just never apply for breaking out, or they haven't quite qualified, or they're now on the up-and-coming and they just barely didn't make it in, and all of that kind of stuff. But to be entirely real, breaking out gets an application pool of somewhere between 19 to like 30 players. I want you to think about that, because we get 8, if we get 8 players on the show, 8 players qualify, and on the low end, 19 players are applying, there is close to a 40% chance you'll get on the show just by applying. And that's a little bit silly, right? I mean, that's a little bit silly. And I think that we've had, I'm pretty happy with most of the players that have made it on. I mean, we've only had like GM level players at a minimum. And everyone that I've been able to work with has been, you know, pretty, I've been pretty happy to work with and everything. But I think that with all the people that I've already had on, I want to start to open it up a little bit more and get a little bit more competition, just so it means more when people qualify and get on the show. Because I think there is that very legitimate reasoning of, why should I care about these people just because they qualified and they were part of that 40%? It doesn't have a lot of prestige to it. There wasn't quite as much that they need to work for to get on. So the idea is I'm going to be opening up to all English speakers because I still want to be able to do the show with them. And if they don't speak English, that drives a lot of wrenches into the entire idea. So they have to be English speakers, but it's going to be open to North America, South America, Europe, even Korea, if there are some fluent English speakers there that want to play. The North American home turf advantage is that everything is going to be played on the North American server, unless I guess it's like 2 Europeans playing against each other, or 2 Koreans, or, you know, whatever, something like that. And it'll just always be defaulted to North America. So there's your home turf advantage, North America. I still want North Americans to be able to make it through. Like, that was the founding principle behind Breaking Out, is highlighting up-and-coming North American StarCraft 2 players. But I think I've done quite a few, and a lot of them have gotten at least some more spotlight, and I'm very, very happy with that, and I hope I continue to see North Americans. But with the way that StarCraft and the setting for StarCraft is with WCS EU, God, I'm rambling on so much. I'm sorry. I'll wrap up this stuff. With WCS EU being merged with WCS NA, this is the competition. If you can't compete with the Europeans that are up and coming, and you got to do something. And I'm not actually anticipating a lot of Koreans applying, but I'll open it up to them, and if it becomes a problem, that's something I can solve for Season 6. Season 6, unofficially announced. No, but yeah, so that's my thought process behind that. Moving on, so we have the tournament, and you might kind of have been wondering why I said only highlighting the 4 semifinalists, but then of an 8-player tournament, but then I said I'm only allowing 5 to 7 players be qualified. That is because 5 to 7 of the players will qualify. So 5 to 7 of the players will be breakout players, players that have not broken out yet. And then 1 to 3 of those players are going to be established pros. We're going to take that whole, pro competitive show matches concept and just put it into the tournament, because that is what is going to give real context to this. This is where I think it means more when players will be making it out of their groups and stuff, and also have a little bit of a safety net, because at least one player, if the maximum number of pro players I'll let in is 3, then with 2 groups of 4, at least 1 semi-pro player will make it out, and that is the player that I will be highlighting. And of course, if it's just like the 3 pros are let in, and 3 pros make it as like spots number 1, 2, and 3, and then there's 1 semi-pro spot 3, I'll do the show with them, and I'll probably just do like a long form interview with the pro, kind of a similar to what It Me JP did with a lot of people back in the day, as a get to know you, and I'll be handpicking those pros and stuff. So I'll pick people that new people each season and stuff. So that'll be cool. I think that'll be interesting. It'll be a nice shakeup in the format. Let's see. Yeah, top 4 will be the highlight and stuff. Oh yeah, and the idea is that after that, yeah, I do the show, and it'll be big changes in the format, of course, to accommodate that. I mean, I don't really need a casting or like a cast this person's games and get a feel for their matchups when I've already done a tournament and have the cast from there. So I'll probably remove like the casting segment. The analysis segment can have on like some more prestigious names, since I think I've built up at least a lot more contacts. That's one of the big problems. People would always say, why don't you have like Huck on all these other awesome people on to talk about the games with the players? And like, well, Huck doesn't probably care anything about what I'm doing, but I think I'm starting to build up some of the contacts, and I'll reach out to see if other pro players are interested in that kind of concept. And if they are, awesome, we'll go with it. If they're not, we'll find another way to adapt. But those are the main changes that are planned for next season. I know that I just listed it a lot. I know this is probably like a really long video. That's a problem I have. I need to keep things shorter. But that's something to work on for Season 5. Hopefully you guys enjoyed kind of this look into the retrospective of the Breakout Invitational Season 4 and Season 5 of Breaking Out. I didn't really talk much about Season 4's Breaking Out, the show, not just the tournament. I think it's because I got a lot of feedback, and I feel like these changes should be addressing it. This is kind of my indirect way of saying my thoughts on the show. I really am attached to the idea of the show, and I don't want to drop it. It kind of saddens me to put the tournament before the show, because I feel like that was an idea that I really liked how it played out. It was, you don't know these players, but here's context for them based on the show I've been doing for the past 8 weeks or 4 weeks, that I've edited together all this content, and I can play this downtime stuff, before, while we're getting the players on Skype and for the interviews and all this other stuff and getting the lobby set up, we play like a 2-minute video on, here is EJK, here is Moose Skills, here is BioIce, in like 2 minutes summed up. So I'm going to have to figure out something else for that. I guess I can still try and find ways to create that kind of content, even if it won't be in the form of the show. But yeah, Breaking Out, this has been Fear Dragon. Thank you all so much for the amazing amounts of support. It's daunting sometimes because I feel like I get more support than I deserve. I get a lot of support because it's a niche idea that people like, even though I haven't been able to deliver on a good form of the idea. So thank you for your continued support until the idea gets to where it needs to be to actually deserve the support. And hope you guys tune in for season 5, which, oh yeah, it's not gonna be for. It's gonna be for. It's gonna be a bit further down the line. I'm thinking possibly post BlizzCon. And most likely Legacy of the Void. So if you're a player that wants to be on Breaking Out, practice Legacy of the Void. This is your chance. Have a wonderful night or day or afternoon or evening, whatever time it is for you, viewer. That's awesome. Stuck around to this point in the video for some reason. You're probably asleep by now. You probably just like put this on for some reason when you're going to bed and just left it on to see like if my soothing tones would eventually put you to sleep, or just like my ranting would put you to sleep. So can't blame you there, but have a wonderful night. God, I said it again. Thank you. I'm done.